I'm going to take the Bills and the Ravens, and we're going to get the matchup that I don't know if we deserve the matchup that we're going to get, but we are going to get Lamar Jackson and we're going to get Josh Allen. The Bills 31-7 over the Broncos, Ravens 28-14 in a divisional matchup they had over the Steelers. Josh Allen 318 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry for the Ravens 186 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson 256 total yards, 2 touchdowns. By the way, Derrick Henry was averaging 7.2 a pop, and the Ravens rushed for 299 total. So we're going to get this as the divisional matchup next weekend. This game's going to be in Buffalo. I saw the Ravens right now are favored by a point. I think it's -1 Ravens. And again, look, we can talk about how, both of these guys have underperformed in the postseason and how, Patrick Mahomes has reigned supreme over the AFC, and all that's true. But at some point, something's got to give. Lamar's 3-4 in the postseason. Josh Allen 6-5. The only time they've met up in the postseason was in the divisional round in 2021. Josh Allen won that one. Right now, I'm just going to sit back with a bag of popcorn and watch this because both these guys have had an incredible year. The front runners for the MVP. Is there one guy you trust more than the other right now?
I wouldn't say guy, but I would say team. I would say roster. I trust. I mean, they did meet in the regular season. And the Ravens won 35-10. I think the Bills are a good team. I think Josh Allen is one of the best in the league. But I think the Ravens, as a roster, are built better than the Bills are, and I would trust the Ravens more than I do the Bills.
Well, I look at the home team here. That's really the only thing I'm looking at. I mean, outside of the Buccaneers, who we just brought up, all the home teams won. You look at what happened in the college football playoff. The home field advantage is a real thing. And in Buffalo, it's about as close to a college football atmosphere as you're going to get in the NFL. Here's what worries me a little bit about the Bills. You got in the red zone 5 times in that game. Didn't have a ton of success there. You do that against the Ravens, you're not going to win. You possess the ball for 41 minutes to the Broncos 18. That's not going to happen. These are really 2 possession teams if you really look at it. That's why I kind of like the under in this game, because I think you're going to get a lot of possessions. It's going to be somewhat slower. And then I watched the Ravens play the Steelers. What was the knock last year on the Ravens with the way they came out? Lamar Jackson just tried to turn into Dan Marino.
Yeah.
They threw it every play. First 4 or 5 plays of the Steelers game, Lamar Jackson was running it. You want to know how you help Derrick Henry out? Have a quarterback that can run, because you can't, put all your chips on one spot to stop Derrick Henry. But the Bills are at home. It's going to be fascinating. Which defense? There's going to be a lot of talk about the offenses. Which defense is going to bow up in this game? That's going to be your winner.
If you truly, truly love offensive play calling, like if you're a student of the game, this matchup with Joe Brady and Todd Monken calling plays against each other is going to be fantastic. Currently, the Notre Dame head coach is going to be playing in the national championship next Monday, but that means he has drawn some interest from the National Football League, specifically right now from the Chicago Bears. So my statement to you guys is, for Marcus Freeman, coaching the Chicago Bears is a downgrade from being the coach at Notre Dame. Punter, go.
Go, 100%. I think it's a great compliment to Marcus, who's slowly, becoming one of the most beloved coaches in college football and really sports in general, how he's kind of turned Notre Dame and he's made Notre Dame great again. Let's be honest. You got some swag infused there. But when you look at the Bears, it's one thing to go to the NFL. It's another thing to go to a disaster. Why would you leave a made bed? I said the same thing about Sark. It could not be going better for him at Notre Dame. Hell, you have the Catholic Church. The Pope loves you. I brought him up twice now. You've got NIL. You've got resources. The Bears are a disaster. I think the ownership is a disaster. Yes, they have Caleb Williams. There's so many problems there. If I was Marcus Freeman, I'm using it as leverage. To me, it's like when you get the new update on your iPhone, but turns out it sucks worse than the old version. So if you're Marcus Freeman, use it as leverage. But it is a downgrade because that's how much of a dumpster fire the Chicago Bears are. I wouldn't touch them.
Chicago Bears downgrade from Notre Dame. Blaine, punter, go.
I mean, I'm just telling you right now, I just don't know how an NFL job's a downgrade from anything in college. I mean, we talk about this all the time. I mean, if you're Marcus Freeman and you want to coach at the highest level, the most elite level, well, I mean, there's 32 teams that you have that option to go coach, and that is the Chicago Bears. And what do the Chicago Bears need, to be honest? They need a culture hire. I'm saying the same thing with Pete Carroll. Right now, you have a young, fresh Marcus Freeman. He's going to get a bunch of young guys. He can fix the culture at Chicago. And when did Chicago win most of their games? When was Chicago feared? On the defensive side of the ball, and Marcus Freeman is a defensive savant. So I don't think it would be a downgrade to go coach at the highest level of football that we have, that 32 teams that guys killed to try to get a job here. So is it a compliment for Marcus Freeman? Absolutely. Do I think he's going to take the job? No. But would it be a downgrade to go coach in the NFL? Absolutely not.
So it sounds like, I mean, it's current. I'm trying to pull up his contract here. I mean, I don't think he's making 13.
They extended him.
Extended to like 2030. He's making $9 million.
I mean, it's a similar situation to what popped up every single offseason with Jim Harbaugh, with NFL interest and his Michigan contract. It went back and forth, but you're talking about at minimum $5, $6, $7 million more per year to coach in the NFL. Not that means anything. I mean, look, like if you had 3 years guaranteed in the NFL, is that better than if you could coach at Notre Dame for the next 15, which going to a national championship bought you up a lot of equity? I mean, at what point, Jake, is it just a financial decision? You say, like, I got to take the job.
Well, I think you run the math out. You just played it out. Yeah, let's say they pay him $4 million more a year than the $9 million he's making now. What if he goes to Notre Dame and says, hey, I want $11 million? All right, how long do you got with the Bears? You haven't proven anything in the NFL. With Notre Dame, you got to what, 2030? I'm not a mathematician, but that's 5 years now. 9 times 5 is 45. That's $45 million. That's great. I go to Chicago. You give me a 3-year deal that pays me $12 million. Again, not a mathematician. That's $36 million. I just lost $9 million to go to a place where I have proven nothing. You are the head coach at Notre Dame, and you're more popular than ever. You don't leave a made bed when you're the king sleeping in the castle. I don't think you do that. I think you'd be crazy to do that. That's why it's a downgrade. It ain't the Cowboys. This is the Bears. I don't think they can get the water fountains right, and they don't exactly have a lot of patience, especially for a guy that's never won in the NFL. Jim Harbaugh had been in the NFL. That's a little bit of a difference there, I think. And
it just come off a national championship.
Just come off a national
championship. Which was my next question. How much does what happens next Monday in the national championship affect his decision? Pete Carroll went back to the NFL after he got a couple natties at USC. Nick Saban tried his hand after he got that first natty at LSU. Jim Harbaugh, national championship at Michigan, decided to return. If he wins the national championship at Notre Dame, is that more like, hey, next challenge up? And then if he loses next Monday, is like, no, we got to run this thing back?
Well, I think it's whatever the mentality of Marcus Freeman is. Do you want to coach against the best? Do you want to play against the best? It's not at Notre Dame. That's not the best. All right, it's a big part of college football. We can all agree about that with their history and their tradition there. But the best are a league up from you in the NFL. Do you want to prove you're the best in college football? Or do you want to prove you're the best in the world?
You say that. I don't look at Kirby Smart as like shying away from the best, and I see him as like a college guy. Right?
Was Nick Saban better than some of the coaches in the NFL, you think?
Nick Saban coached college.
Yeah, I understand that, but he went to the NFL and the Dolphins for a couple years and didn't exactly work out. I don't think everybody looks at Nick Saban and says, well, you were great in college football, but
you're
really not that great
football coach ever. But he's not the greatest. Who is the greatest coach ever?
Nick Saban.
Ever. Bill Belichick.
Is it?
You won at the highest.
Yeah.
You won at the highest
with Tom
level
Brady.
Of football.
I heard
with Tom Brady. Like you won the highest. Nick Saban's the greatest college football coach ever.
Well,
Bill Belichick is the greatest football coach ever because you coached at the highest point of football we have, and you dominated. That's what I go off. There could be a high school coach better than Nick Saban. If we're talking about this, he won 60 high school state championships.
You think it's easier to coach in college than the NFL? I know we got to move on, but you think it's easier to coach in college than it is in the NFL?
I think it's harder to win in the NFL than it is in college.
I don't know. I think all the teams are closer. I think the teams in the NFL are closer.
I think it was a lot easier to harbor talent in college when Nick Saban was in there, but talent's divvy out in the NFL. It's harder to coach if everything is even.
And now it's going to start divvying out more with transfer portal and NIL, which is going to make Bill Belichick's experiment at UNC more interesting.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? Want to get to 200,000 subs. Let's make it happen because I believe in you.